Johnson, and this is focused on Liberia. Hit it! From Cape Mount to Cape Palmer, Mount Nimba to Atlantic Ocean, Obomi Hills to Pocondre, to educate, elevate, and promote. Talk about home affairs, in diaspora, current affairs, reliable information, history, talking about culture, politics, education, entertainment, business, sports, advertisement, articulation. Focus on Liberia. Focus on Liberia. Focus on Liberia. From Monday to Sunday.
Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to Tough Talking Thursday on Focus on Liberia. My name is Dennis Jar, and we are broadcasting from Atlanta, Georgia. In tonight's edition of Tough Talking Thursday, we're going to be looking at corruption in the Liberian government and recent allegations and charges of corruption in the LRRRC, and also bribery corruption allegation in our House of Representatives. We're going to talk about corruption. Also, the University of Liberia launches PhD program. That's PhD, as in PhD program under interim administration. What's going on in Liberia? We're going to talk all this with my panelists here. Let me welcome our resident economist, who is now joining us from the nation's capital, Monrovia. Welcome, Thomas Buchanan.
Thank you, Dennis. Great to join the team tonight. Hi to all the listeners.
Good. Let me also welcome Mr. Jimmy Eastman. He's our associate at Focus on Liberia. Jimmy, welcome to Focus on Liberia Tough Talking Thursday.
Thank you, Dennis. It's a pleasure being here with these astute gentlemen. I hope our contribution here tonight will take root in our native land.
Jimmy is in the nation's capital, D.C., so he's close to the axis of power. Let me welcome Dr. Abdoulaye Dukle, a journalist, a teacher, a communication expert, somebody who also has the privilege of working with three Liberian presidents. Welcome, sir.
Thank you, Dennis, and I'm here to listen to my colleagues, the panelists, brilliant minds, and especially to get all the gossips from Monrovia from Thomas.
Thomas, be ready. Let me welcome our governance advisor, Mr. Ahmed Salif. He's also the executive director of GJI. That's a group. We're going to talk a little bit about that later during the program. Welcome, Mr. Salif.
Thank you, Dennis. It's an honor. It's a pleasure to be here. Let's do it.
Are you growing a beard?
Yeah, since he formed the group, he started growing the beard.
Yeah, he looked too young to be head of a think tank.
I thought you wouldn't notice it, Professor Dugle.
Yeah, okay, I got you.
We'll also be joined later on by Dr. Saki Golafale and Dr. George Williams. The issue with the University of Liberia PhD program intrigued them, and so they want to come and chime in. Gentlemen, I want to welcome you again. I want to welcome our viewers. Here are some things that happened, right? The Liberia Anti-Corruption Commission has launched an investigation into allegations that lawmakers were bribed to sign a resolution calling for the author of Speaker J. Funati Kofa as Speaker. A leaked audio suggests that several lawmakers accepted bribes to support the resolution. Representative Luther Collins admitted receiving $25,000 to back the removal and implicated Deputy Speaker Thomas Fala and Vice President Jeremiah Cowan in the scheme. Nearly all the anti-Kofa members of the House who signed the resolution, they are not denying receiving $15,000 in advance and to receive $10,000 later. But the bribery allegation is really not the focus. They've been focusing on the removal only. Is it because corruption is taboo? We'll find out. Also, there's another corruption allegation, this time in the LRRRC, that's the Liberia Repatriation Resettlement Commission. Daniel Jackson, a former employee of the Refugee Repatriation and Resettlement Commission, has accused top officials of massive corruption. Jackson leaked documents showing misallocated checks from the Central Bank of Liberia and alleged that funds intended for refugee support programs were redirected to fictitious entities and associates. He specifically named Executive Director Patrick Wozie and his deputies as mastermind of this scheme or the orchestrator. The amount in question is 1.5 million. I mean, sometimes when you hear the million in Liberia, you think that's the city they're talking about, but no, this is not Liberian dollar. So these are some of the corruption. And before coming on, I read that even in gender ministry, there are corruption, and the deputy minister is denying it. Tom, you are in Monrovia. I want you to tell us what is the mood in Monrovia when it comes to these corruption allegations. What are the people saying in the streets and on the radio?
Thank you very much, Dennis. So just like you read the different stories, I mean, if you pick the local dailies in Monrovia, you see some of these stories on the front pages. And there's this newspaper, Verity newspaper, that I think Martin Collin and his team have put together. They seem to be much more focused on investigating these kind of issues. So if you pick their paper, you see the front line, the back stories highlighting some of these issues. So I mean, people are talking about it, but I mean, the corruption cases seems to be more covered by the issue of the fight in the House of Representatives. So you hear people talking about the issue at the
Oops.
Yeah, he's joining us from Monrovia, and so
LRRRC, Triple C.
yeah. So Dr. Dukley, from what Tom was saying is people are not really talking about the corruption cases more than they are talking about the removal.
Well,
Right.
I
Thomas,
think, yeah, when you think about corruption, okay,
Yeah.
Thomas is back.
yeah, Thomas, continue.
Yeah, so I mean, like I said, you hear people talking about it in the pages, you hear people talking about it in Keke, and the general mood is that investigations will be done, some actions will be taken. They want at the LRRRC, like I said, I think initially the head of the agency, Mr. Patrick Wozie, I think brought it up, and I think he said that it was the controller that was involved with this act, and he even invited law enforcement agencies to come and intervene. So that's still a developing story to really be able to lay a handle on exactly what happened. I listened to his press conference, and he said that the controller even forged his signature. But the story is saying that like you read, the number of returnees that came back to the country was inflicted, and then they withdrew money and misallocated it to other places. So it's still a story that we are following to see exactly what is going to happen. On the one in the House of Representatives, the LACC put up a release, and they said they have gathered some intelligence that the money was routed through Liberia Water and Sewer Corporation and the Ministry of Transport. And LWSC, I think leadership has responded to them, asking them that their books are open for them to go and investigate. So these are stories that people are talking about. But like I said, It is actually the fight in the House of Representatives that has overshadowed this entire week.
Thank you, Dr. Douglas. What does that tell you? If the corruption story has been overshadowed, is it normalized, or is it that people think, well, it's corruption again, nothing going to come out?
Yeah, but when you talk about the House and corruption and the stories of brown envelopes dating back to the removal of Snow and Tyler and all of that, Snow even talked about, I think he said, yeah, to remove him, they took 5,000 each. To remove Tyler, it was 10 or 15,000. Now inflation took it to 25. So people are used to these kind of stories coming from about the House. So they're not surprised. So now they're looking at for nothing because they know all these guys went into the House or whatever. Some people got the money from the executive branch. They're still in the executive branch and they went to the legislature to protect themselves and they keep working. Some people just came in. They had no other job than being consultant to something that we don't know. And then overnight they became millionaire. They're building hospitals, they're building schools, they're building private institutions. So Liberian people know corruption is there. They don't, it's who's going to pay more. So it's sad, but I think we also play in the hands of these people somehow because we tend to forget what happened. The story of the LRRRC and the car issue, who wrote the check, why the check was written, why is Metex still taking money from Liberia and sending it to the agents? We have that. That has not gone away. Nobody's talking about it. The police went and some police officers went and attacked somebody. That story is there. And now we're going to LRRC and then we're going to the House. It's like a house full of, bad news. So it's not just one. So people just say, okay, these are all corrupt people. So it doesn't make any difference. So the only show really that matters is, okay, who's going to beat who? Is Goliath is going to win or David is going to win in the House? That's all they do. So that's what they watch. They don't watch the corruption because everybody's corrupt. Everybody is in the art. Yeah. That's why they don't react to it.
Mr. Salif, I know we're going to deal with specifically these stories, but I want us to look at it from the governance standpoint. President Bouaka role on the way, because corruption in the WIA government, we heard, and so this new government was coming to offer something different. But the corruption allegations have not stopped, and investigation is very slow. So far we've not seen anyone in handcuffs as a result of corruption. What's going on?
Well, it's the same country, and we are the same people, the same mindset, the same culture, right? When you listen to Dr. Douglas, it's very gloomy. It sounds very hopeless, and to a certain extent, it is. Really, it's a sorry state of affairs. It seems like, but what our people voted for when they voted for President Bouaka and a change from CDC to Unity Party was maturity, competence. People felt like, okay, these guys here, they don't seem to know what they're doing. They were even incompetent at being incompetent. If that makes sense. They were so incompetent and even in their corrupt acts, they were very incompetent. Like they couldn't be crafty or skillful even at corruption. And so the people saw that. And they said, well, maybe we will put a different group there that will be marginally better than this group that's there. And if you put a group there that has better skills, that has more experience, understands governing and governance and how to run the state, it would trickle down to the people. That was the hope. That was kind of what I saw. Even this whole rescue mantra that came about, that was a notion that there was something terribly wrong with the country under Mr. Weah, and so the country needed to be rescued. and you need a new group of people. Now, that's not to say, this new group of people, people who, like I said, the same country, the same people, right? And there are elements in there who have been out of government for how many years. And sadly, most of our people, when they leave public service, public sector, they don't really know how to figure themselves out. They don't know what else they can do to maintain their lifestyle, opulent lifestyles that they so displayed when they were in office. And everybody just sits and waits for elections or yearns for coming back to power. You notice people want to come back to the very office or very institution that they used to work at, because that's where they learn to be corrupt. That's where they learn to get what they got their wealth from, and that's where they want to come back. A lot of people fought for that very, very much. So, one is, same people. You just hope that better leadership, a little bit of better stewardship will change things and change the course of direction. That's what people voted for in the last cycle.
And are we seeing that better leadership so far when it comes to fighting or clamping down corruption?
Yeah, look, I've been the one here who has been saying, look, if they can, if the president can cash in on things that he's saying, things he's promising, things that he has, reduced into executive order and structure institutions, if they can materialize on some of those and implement and really, yes, then you'll see a shift, right? I mean, the LGGI or GJI, we've been very clear in the beginning when the president was coming to the UN General Assembly. We said taking together things President Barker has done and said we would do, and in the direction we're saying him, we give him an overall, approval of leadership. And so, but it's not, yes, the buck stops with the president and at the president's desk, but the president is assisted by officials, cabinet officials, and the government is 3 branches of government. We're in a sort of democratic system form of government where we have various equal branches of government. And so you see the first branch of government, and you see dysfunctionality in the first branch of government. You see similarly in the judiciary, and you see likewise in the cabinet and other state-owned enterprises and with other officials around the president. Now, what we continue to encourage the president to do is rein people in, let people see consequences of corruption, serious high-level officials go into jail, property seized, of course, with due process and all, follow the law. But yeah, let people see that, look, there are consequences if you do these things. That's the kind of leadership that we're hoping will happen.
Thank you, Jimmy. We have the laws in place. We have institutions like the LACC. We have the GAC. We have the asset recovery. All these things. We have the ombudsman. Everything in place. But what we've not seen so far is this fight against the corruption for current people in the current government. That has been one of the issues. And so the response that we're getting, according to what Thomas is saying now, is people lukewarm towards this because they've given up, they don't have hope, or because corruption is just normal.
I think we're still in the honeymoon stage of this administration. It's not even a year. And so at this stage, people will be patient. People hope to be high, and there's not enough time to really give them outright condemnation. But what I believe strongly is the magnitude of what needs to happen in our native land. I'm not sure if they grasp the magnitude. You cannot get a regular job done, a ministry to process a regular job or paper or anything without giving somebody cold water. You have to, it's endemic throughout the system. To overhaul such a system that has been it's almost a culture, to overhaul that will require definitely some stringent actions like Ahmed was talking about. There have to be some very punitive actions taken against ill-doers. And until that starts to happen, it's not going to change because this is business as usual. What we are seeing so early is a lot of things are getting divulged in the public eye. We're hearing now of even the speaker giving recollection of people going making appropriation in the budgets, and then only to go behind there and get their share. We're hearing more and more revolutions as time goes on, and because it's so early in the game, if the chief executive doesn't bring this under control quickly, it would be overrun, because people will be emboldened to do more and more as time goes on. It's not going to get better. It's going to get worse unless there is punitive action doled out. And we may be seeing something dire in the near future if nothing is done about this.
Thank you. Tom, let's specifically go into some of these allegations. Let's start with the House of Representatives, where about 40 plus of these lawmakers is alleged that they receive $15,000 now to get $10,000 later. Even when Speaker Funati Kofa came up, he really did not talk about the bribery scandal. The LRRRC is investigating that. He was not even using it against the people that tried to remove him. To say, well, how can, I mean, you got bribed and this is illegal. He's not even saying that. And the Liberian people are not crying out. You don't see that much outrage. Is it that we are waiting for the investigation to complete, or is going to get the speaker in bad book, or is it because the taboo in the Senate and the House is to bribe your way through?
I think the issue with the speaker is he's in a kind of difficult position. I've listened to a couple of his interviews on Spoon TV and the one with the team of journalists. And every time he's asked a question, he doesn't want to accuse anyone. I don't have facts, so I won't accuse this other person. I don't have facts, I won't accuse this other team. And every time he brings things that are critical, he uses the word cartel. The cartel came to me and said they wanted to go to Guinea, and then later I realized that I don't have authority over foreign policy and foreign relations, so I refuse to do it. So he's not really saying anything about the bribe. He say he respects them. So I just think he's in a very difficult position, because if he comes out and say, okay, I do believe that these people were bribed, and then they might add it to the count in the resolution. You know, that resolution can be updated at any point in time to say, oh, the speaker has lied on us and therefore he's going to go. So I think he's in a very difficult position, and therefore he cannot really be very categorical about this issue of bribery. And I also think that because of the many interviews that he has now given, and he has spoken a lot, I think it's getting to a point where everyone is going to see it as a no retreat, that you just have to go through what they are doing. So for the fact that he is the leader of the House, and one of them had come out and said they were bribed, and he's not taking it into consideration. So I think that's where the whole issue about the bribery thing is not even being elevated to that level. It's only from the angle of the LRRRC. To me, I think the issue of the press statement that the LRRRC put out is welcoming. The only other hesitation that I hear from people, and I also have, is the issue of the institutions that they mention. I would think that the LRRRC, if they are going to mention institutions that these the resources were routed through this specific institution, then I would think that they have really solid evidence. Because if they come out after their investigation and it shows out that these two institutions were not involved in this, because this is not any little money. 25,000 times 103 is around 2.5 million. So if it comes out that these institutions were not involved in it, we are already in a society where people find it difficult to believe anything that happens. So if the LSCC misses their target, then they become part of the public discussion. Even if they say it is this other institution and that other institution, people are not going to believe it. They will say you told us it was Ministry of Transport and LWSC. So I think the LSCC should really take this serious for the fact that they have already put themselves in the public. But I think their release is welcoming. The information they put up that they are investigating is something that should really be able to go through. And for me, everything that we are doing, we need some bigger pictures that should be in our mind. If you want to pass MCC, you want to pass corruption, these are things that you need to focus on. 2025, we are looking forward to a very big budget. Dry season is coming, a lot of things need to happen.
So,
This is time to really clear all of these little
and Tom,
things.
I'm glad you brought that up because that what was coming through, right? Because take for instance the 2.5 million. Are Liberians able to see what 2.5 million is able to accomplish, right? And we always use we like to use the example of the MVTC, the Morovia Vocational Training School, the 4,000 for the entire budget for the year. So even if you were buying bleach for the bathroom, 4,000 is not even enough. So can you paint
You're
a
talking
picture
about
of
bleach.
what?
You're talking about toilet paper, not bleach.
Can you paint a picture of what 2.5 million can do? Maybe the Liberian people are not saying this. Do you think that's the problem? Because it's always the opportunity cost. What is it that we are leaving to do this? What this 2.5 could have accomplished that these people have taken from us? Are you guys, the economists and other politicians, able to relate that and relay it so succinctly so that they see what corruption is doing, the impact of corruption on their lives?
You know,
I mean, just quickly, I would just put that in terms of the resources that are provided to the counties. So, for instance, every county in a budget year receive 200,000, right? And that I think was cut down to 180,000 this year. So 2.5 million by 200,000 is 12 counties. So out of 15 counties, that's the money every year we could give to 12 counties to say everything you are doing in the counties, this is why it's provided to you. There are some institutions in the budget that get maybe 1 million, 1.5 million, and all of that. So that could be 2 or 3 entities that could get their annual budgetary allocation in that amount. Or maybe that could be something that can run GW Gibson, Top High, and a couple of these institutions that are around town. So it's a substantial amount that can do a lot for people.
can I add something to this?
Yes, that's it.
No, Dennis, you just mentioned something about the two institutions that LSCC talked about. You know, I think water and sewer and transport.
Yeah.
You see, there's another problem here that we have to pay attention to. If money has been transferred through these people, through the state institution, that means it was government public money. Because if it was just bribery money from cash from a company, they will have the cash. So where the money came from to go to LC, water and sewer, that's another problem because that's government money. If it has to go through transport, if you're going through water and sewer, that means government money has been stolen to be used to commit a crime. So you got a crime. This is like Watergate. You have a crime in a crime. So we also fall, we pass the, oh yeah, you can. So LSCC now has to prove to us that that money came from water and sewer, and who sent it to water and sewer, and which account it came from the government. Because if you're sending money through water and sewer, that means it's government public money. Otherwise, you just bring a bag of cash. You say, hey, here, $2 million, go give it to the people. You see what I'm talking about?
Yeah, and so, Dr. Douglas, with that level of crime, why is it not receiving more attention? And even Kofa.
Yeah, but we're not thinking about it. We're just thinking about, oh, yeah, petty corruption. We think it's a petty corruption. Say, oh, yeah, somebody got 15,000. But Fonati got elected and Billy Kuhn for the speakership. Rumors were that, people got between $30,000 and $45,000. But nobody, nobody say, "Oh, let's investigate this." Nobody say anything, and they accept. Everybody sat down and talked about it. But why are you surprised? McGill took money, built toilet. Everybody said they took money, and they went and got elected. Why are you surprised that Liberian people sit down and say, "Hey, how much you stole? Can I get my own?" Everybody would, that's it. That's what everybody want to, that's
And
the problem.
Dr. Douglas, to add to that, Speaker Kofa also came up with allegations that, hey,
Yeah.
this is what they are doing with your money. And he's been deputy speaker for 6 years before being speaker.
And he knew. So he knew these things were going on. So
Right.
why did he not speak till now? They want to kick him out. So, this sometimes you say, okay, maybe this democracy is not working for us. That sometimes you need a Kagame or, Jerry Rawlings or somebody who just slap people around and say, you know what, you're not worth it. Let's, country doesn't need you. Get out of here. But, we also have to look at something, impunity, the issue of impunity. People stole under Ellen government, especially in the second term, when she was on her way out. We all know she fired a lot of them, but they didn't go to jail. So most of these guys now were junior ministers in that government. So they saw their bosses, some of them saw their bosses stealing and getting away with it. Now they're in position. Most of these guys were junior, right? These guys were junior ministers in the Ellen government. And some of them were even in schools. Some of them were not even in the government. But now they're at the top. And they saw their bosses steal. Some of the bosses were stealing broad daylight. Everybody knows it. We know where the money is. We see the money in their houses. And now they say, okay, they didn't go to jail. They just got fired. If I can steal $1 million and you fire me in a country where I can live with $2,000 a month, you think I care?
Jimmy, what does Speaker Kofa want? So let's look at the House of Representatives, right? They have, I think, 25 of them are from the CDC, 10 from the Labour Unity Party. And those who are calling for the removal of Kofa, I think 10 of them from the Unity Party, and some of them even from his own county. And they, what has he been trying to do that caused this? What really does he want to do? If you look at him, that led him to this place.
Well, he's trying to navigate the political waves in the legislature at the top branch of government. He's trying to play nice with the ruling party, which is the Unity Party. He's trying to cozy up to the chief executive. And at the same time, he's trying to satisfy his own party and his party members. So he's playing a balancing act, and apparently, I mean, it's quite obvious now that it's not working. He's alienated a lot of his own party members. He's also, what he should have realized, if you notice other campaigns in other countries, people always try to do something that will appeal to their base. And that is a mistake I think the speaker is making. He's tried to play that middle ground, and it has earned him disrepute amongst his own party members. And that is why some people, no matter what they did, they told that party line so that their base will continually back them up. And the main part about it, a lot of these allegations he's making, he was there, part and parcel as deputy speaker. So why now are you beginning to expose these things? Why didn't you bring attention to these things when you knew about it? So he's lost credibility. Are you going to believe him? So if this is believable, why didn't you talk about it before? Is it now because your position is being threatened that you're trying to throw shade on the whole legislature? So he's lost. The game he's been playing is losing. What he should have done was continually toe the party line, toe the CDC line, and not play up to the UP, because they try to get him out from the jump. He should have known that it was not going to work because they already had him, and now he's fallen right in their traps. And
But the people that are trying to get him up are mainly people from UP, right? So are you saying he tried to coup you up in UP and the state tried to remove him?
CDC started it. CDC started it.
Yeah.
CDC started it.
He's been not now. He's not trying to play right now. He's in a losing game. But during the course of the few months, he's been justifying some of the president's movements, his travel. He's been playing up to the executive. And
what does he want from the executive, you think?
What he wants to be able to carry out some of the things, that he wants to do. He wants to be able to be in good books. For 2029 is coming. He has his own political desires that he may want to run eventually for another type of office. So all these things came into play, but politics is a tricky game. Yeah. It's very tricky, and he's caught up. And I tell you the truth, when all said and done, I don't see how he will survive this other upheaval. I don't see how he will survive it.
Mr. Salif, same question. What is Kofa looking for, and why is it that the allegations that he has levied, they're not getting that much attention? In fact, those same lawmakers calling themselves majority black, they say, "Oh no, you're lying. It's not true." Right. What is Kofa trying to accomplish really in his speakership?
Oh, you mean before the crisis? Before the crisis?
Yeah. What led to this crisis in your view?
He's he's the speaker from an opposition party. As a speaker, you are the leader of the house. So you're not just there as a leader of your political party. So what you want is some kind of governing alliance. He wants to govern in coalition with the Unity Party, so that he could undertake ambitious projects, maybe institute reforms. I mean, people say, look, this is not a right messenger for this reform message. Other people have said that. But at the same time, people have had a change of heart. Particularly if you have a higher level of ambition for political office, you might want to rebrand yourself, right? Now, I don't know his motivation, but what we see in other political theaters around the world is that you try to govern in a way that you work with the executive, and so that you're also part of a national governing alliance. Okay, so we saw, for instance, what do we see him do? We saw him structure the office of the speaker in a way that it really was in position to become the institution that it ought to be, right? He's hiring somebody on foreign affairs. He's hiring somebody on.
That time we don't even see what they're doing.
We don't see what they're doing. But the thing is, he's signaling to people who know about these things that, okay, this guy is positioning himself. He's trying to say, look, legislatively, you have a role to play in foreign affairs. You have a role to play in domestic policy. You have a role to play on gender matters, human rights questions, things like that. And so you need experts, you need researchers, you need professionals in your office who can research for you, who can position the office of the speaker in such a way that this office becomes a counter or a powerful force, to contend with as far as the executive is concerned. That's one way. The other aspect that I believe has landed him in problem now is political maneuvering. He's threatening reform. Not only that reform includes accountability. Now, others are saying, look, man, you've been part of us. You're aware of some of what that will probably be uncovered in any audit, in any accountability process. And so why now? If you do so, you're going to expose all kinds of people, perhaps will end their political careers. In any mature democracy, ethical context, you uncover certain massive level of corruption and plunder and theft of government of public funds and resources, your political career is done. So some of these guys are calculating and saying, okay, so this guy is trying to expose us because of his own personal ambition. He wants to be president. He wants to run for office. So those are two aspects, right? The final one that I will conclude this segment on is the CDC factor. Now, people have been wondering, with President Weah out of office, is CDC going to rebrand itself to, have a new leader, political leader? Will it just be George Weah? Could it be Fonati Kofa or someone else? If it's not George Weah, the likely person that's positioning himself, I see is Speaker Kofa. And of course, there are powerful people around President Weah, the Samuel Tours of the world, in Nathaniel McGill and others. They don't want that. So they're going to try to take this guy down. At the same time, all the while, pretending to be his friend, his fellow partisan, but they don't want that kind of influence that he has begun to acquire through his alliance with the Unity Party.
Thank you. That brings us to the one at...
Can I add something to that?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think, Funati, you didn't ask me that question. I didn't intervene on this issue, but
okay, sure.
my opinion anyway. But I think the one factor that is missing probably is the fact that where is the supreme leader of CDC? And Fonati Kofa is now CDC. He's more Liberty Party type, more Unity Party type than CDC and blindly following a leader. That's not him. So you add that to the fact that, Ahmed just said. And then I don't see anybody from CDC going after a CDC speaker without the blessing of George Weah. You will not be in that house for 2 more days. Unless if you're a CDC person and you go after a CDC speaker that you want to remove him from office, no, George Weah got to know something about it. And Ahmed, you put your finger on it. Yeah, George Weah got people around him who survived by sucking his blood, the blood around him. Their survival depends on George Weah being prominent. So if he's out of the picture, if Fonati comes in, that's finished. That's the end of them. Therefore, I think, CDC got more hand in this than they can. You remember now, the first person to sign this paper was on July 7th. July to now, it took what, 4 months to get 43 people. So they went one by one together. Thank you.
Tom, maybe you want to add, speak to that too.
Yeah, I think it has been discussed. But the only point I wanted to ask is that when Ahmed said that the speaker is closing up to maybe the president and the ruling party, I mean, I would say that these are more in his public utterances, because like the recent trip that he was on in the US, when he was asked a question about why the president was repeatedly traveling, and he said the president is the marketing officer, he needs to go out there, we are a poor country. Many people in the CDC were very happy about that. But on the side of actually passing bills that has been submitted from the executive, I think they've not made a lot of move on that. All of the bills that were submitted this year, the only one that has been passed by the legislature from the executive, I think, is the the Presidential Transition Act. And my information is that the reason why that was fast-tracked was because other partners were behind it, I think the NDI and some other agencies. But if you look at the act, that the bill that was submitted to create this tourism authority, because tourism is one of the pillars of the arrest agenda, that is still in there. There was a bill submitted to transition the Ministry of Internal Affairs to the Ministry of Local Government. They are still having some work to be able to move on that. So in terms of actually passing laws or bills that have been submitted from the president's office to the legislature, we've not seen a lot of movement around that. I would say much of what we have seen movement on and where he has brought a lot of participation has been around the budget. If you see how he has broken down the Ways and Means Committee into several other committees, now you have a committee on the revenue side, you have a committee on the expenditure side, and this is one thing he mentioned that's why some people are not happy of. And I mean, if you look at the issue of institutional reform, there are some people who always think that things should remain the way they are. When you start to reform and try to push people around, some people are not happy with it. But I think he himself said that around the budget, this is where he has brought a lot of participation. He wants more and more people to participate in the discussion around the budget, in the technical work around the budget before it can come to them for them to be able to pass it. So I just wanted to add this piece that, I mean, he might be more of a friend to the executive, like other people see it. But if I look at it from the point of bills that have been submitted, not many of them have come from the legislature. Not many of them have been passed.
Okay, thank you. We've been joined by Dr. Saki Gulafale on the phone. Dr. Gulafale, are you there?
Yes, I'm here, Mr. Jai and the panelists there. Thank you for having me.
Dr. Gulafale, what do you think of the executive? First of all, before I get to that question, let me put on the screen the LRRRC. They got all kinds of checks, according to the story, that pay themselves. So we have all this corruption thing. What do you think President Bouakai has to do with this? Is President Bouakai, because we still don't have anybody, is it too early to see that he is really not fighting corruption the way we have all hoped? What does President Bouakai have to do with all this corruption going on? We always talk about impunity. You know, the CDC people accuse him of focusing more on the previous government than the current people in his government. Does he have a role to play here? Dr. Gulafale.
Well, thank you. I will start by saying that thanks for the show and thanks for inviting me. Thanks to the panelists I've been following. And even though I'm not abreast with the issues related to what's specific to LRRRC, or what was it, LRRRC, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Corruption. So
yes.
the former employee Daniel Jackson, he accused the official of massive corruption. They have almost 100 checks. That they write this check, they use ghost name, and they actually pay themselves.
Well, that's an allegation that needs to be proven, and it's an allegation that it's still yet. I'm not sure if it has reached over to the Ministry of Justice or the right authority to inform the public on whether people have been apprehended or people have been called for investigation. Until
they turn the controller over to the LMP.
All right, good. We have to follow due process, but the bigger picture here is President Joe Bouakai, and he is the president, and anything regarding corruption, his name is echoed. He is called because he's the leader, and. But when we look at this whole issue of corruption in Liberia, it doesn't just begin with a president who has not even spent a year in office yet. It goes beyond. But to hold him accountable, he's been there before. He knows the system. He knows how it works. We expect that he knows. That is why we supported him. He was there for the first 12 years, and he's there. So we need more from President Bouakai than what we're seeing in the fight against corruption. He should be more robust. He has to put his feet on the ground. One of the things that President Bouakai needs to understand that a lot of us don't see him as a new.
All right. We're having some technical issue there.
Is he driving or something?
Dr. Gulafale, we lost you. So maybe when you get to a better place, you can call back. Mr. Salif, let's talk about the corruption and allegation in the LRRRC. I mean, and you and I being Bujumbura graduates, and
Yeah.
I sent my reporters there, and this thing was just bad with the
Yeah.
way the refugees came, and they were like, so
Mhm.
I was personally, hurt by how the refugees were feeling. I've interviewed there several times in Ghana, and now you talk of corruption, and these people are even more vulnerable than
Mhm.
the Liberians there. This is still an allegation, but what's your take on this, on the government approach to fighting corruption and making sure that people who are accused, like people are, it appears to me that people are not afraid to steal.
And Dennis, like you, the Bujumbura situation, I've been very disappointed and sad by how, at least from my vantage point, just what I've observed, how the government has handled and approached returnees. These are Liberian citizens who were driven out of the refugee camp in Ghana by the Ghanaian government, or at least those who own the land. Some traditional folks,
Are you
but
hearing me?
usually,
Yeah, Doctor. I'm hearing you, but someone has the floor now, so let's come back to you later.
Oh,
so
okay.
yeah. So I was saying, so these people didn't just decide and say, "Look, we're coming home." A lot of them have been in that camp, had been in that camp for close to 30 years, 20 some odd years, and very apprehensive about coming home because, since the Civil War, since people fled, a lot of things happened, right? If you were from rural Liberia, you found yourself in a refugee camp, and that's the only place you've known for the good part of your life there. To come back home is really, really heart-wrenching for people. And then your government says, come home. Other people are throwing you out and they don't want you. Home is peaceful now, come home. And they make arrangement for you to come home. You get home, the reception is not really properly organized. I've been following keenly how these people have been complaining about promises, LRRRC, because LRRRC, the Liberian Refugee Repatriation Resettlement Commission, you have to realize its role here. This is the entity that's responsible for displaced persons, refugees, returnees, migration issues, asylum seekers. It's a significant entity of government. You're right. Refugees, not returnees and displaced persons, Liberian citizens are not refugees in their own country. They are returnees. But you have Sierra Leoneans, refugees in that country, or any country whose the citizens come to Liberia to seek protection. LRRRC will be that and organized government entity that's responsible for that. Okay, so this is an allegation. And the executive director has denied this vehemently, accused, pointed finger at the controller, and turn him over to authorities. Let's wait and see. Let the law take its course. But from all indication in terms of just how they've handled this situation, it's been very to that LRRRC compound complaining at one point they were trying to be violent because nobody was paying attention to them. They were being offered empty words. And though, the other lady they interviewed, FOL staff one day, I watched that interview, and several of these people in the compound said, look, we're not going to keep taking just empty promises from these people. It looks like, the government is giving them the resources they need to support, and they're not doing that. And they started demanding their rights, as they should, as Liberian citizens who have come home. Their government should look to them and take care of them. To think that if this is proven to be true in any shred of the imagination, that you could actually do such a thing, to steal from vulnerable people who are returning home, some of whom have lost family members, who have nowhere to go, because obviously if you have somewhere to go with your relatives, you probably will not be running behind LRRRC every day. That's just unconscionable. I pray that this is not true, that, this is just some kind of political stunt, some false allegation. But if it's proven beyond reasonable doubt that there are senior level officials at LRRRC who did what we're reading in the media, it is a height of any corruption. To me, is symptomatic of the larger ecosystem of distrust, of unconscionableness, of just corrupt mindset that people believe the only way they can amass wealth is on the back and at the expense of vulnerable people. Usually, that is really sad. It has been something that has troubled me since this news broke.
Tom, let me show some checks here before you come in. This one for Mata, $18,000. Central Bank, $510. A lot of checks. They're investigating. We don't know if these are true, but give us go ahead. What you're about to say? But I want
I would just say something. I would just say something quickly, and I will pick up from where Ahmed stopped. Right. Because LRRRC is like the national institution for UNHCR, right? UNHCR globally deals with these refugee issues. IMO deals with migration issues and all of that. It's like LRRRC plays these roles. So like when the Sierra Leone Civil War was on, all the Sierra Leoneans that were here, when their civil war ended, some of them did not want to go back to Sierra Leone, so they integrated into Liberia. So LRRRC responsibility is actually to take care of them. Since the Ivorian civil crisis took place, they are Ivorians here, LRRRC takes care of them. So anyone that is in this category of being a refugee, a displaced person, a migrant, these are often vulnerable people. So LRRRC role is actually to take care of these people in their vulnerabilities. So to come to the point where you are stealing from them, then it's like you are victimizing people who are already vulnerable, which is really shameful. The other point I can make is that this is an opportunity for us as a country that we have misused. Because we were a country 20 years ago or 15 years ago, a couple of years ago, that people were running away from. We were all fleeing this country and going to neighboring countries. 2003, we have our Accra Peace Accord signed. 20 years after that, I think in 2023, August, we celebrated 20 years of peace when all of our partners here joined us to celebrate. So this opportunity of bringing our brothers and sisters from Ghana back to Liberia is an opportunity we had to show to the world that we are truly now a post-war success story. 20 years after our civil war, when Ghana says that we should bring our people back home, we brought them back home and they are happily living back home. So in terms of even marketing ourselves out there, we can say we are peaceful, we are no longer this post-conflict country that everybody thinks we are going to break down into crisis again. We are stable to the extent where wherever our people are, if they want to come back home, we are going for them, we take them and bring them back home. But that success story that we should have used to market ourselves out there is all gone. Because by the time you talk about these returnees, you go to the checks. By the time you talk about them, you go to what is happening in LRRRC. So to me, it's just something that has been it's an opportunity that has been totally misused, in addition to victimizing these people who should have been protected by a national institution that we have to protect vulnerable people.
When the Liberians were in Ghana and how their camps were being demolished, 4 a.m., I interviewed them, I spoke to them. The government of Liberia, practically, we didn't see anything that they were doing publicly. And we have groups here like the Bunumburum Refugee School group. I hosted them. They were providing some things. And still, even with this, where is the outrage from the president's bullet pulpit, Dr. Dukley?
Well, I think this thing, it just happened, right? 2 days ago, the president was still in Rome getting blessed by the Pope.
The Pope, yeah.
So now that he's back.
With holy water.
Yeah. Now that he's back, I hope we all pray that he will.
It didn't just start now. When they were at their most vulnerable, they were sleeping, people were dying.
I was going to come to that. I was going to say before the money thing started, that was the first time the president should have reacted. That was the first time that The people sleeping in almost in a warehouse with water falling on them, standing up with mattresses. And you're supposed to have spent $1 million on them. And then the president said nothing. The Minister of Justice says nothing. Nobody said, oh, how can you put people here? We have enough money to put them in at least some small hotels in Monrovia where you pay $10, $20 a night and they can get food. It's shameful. It's like, you know, we always will come back to this. As Ahmed say, our coach will say, you know, strong leadership, somebody who shows the way and say, you know, you can't play with the Liberian thing. You can't play with public money. You can't play with public institution. You have to do this or you know, somebody said the only person in the government that is supposed to be a novice at his job or her job is the president. Everybody else is supposed to be a specialist. Anybody who's supposed to be working with the president, so appointed by the president, is supposed to be a top notch in their capacity. Is that what we have now? I don't know Patrick I know him, but I don't know him to be administrator, to do this kind of thing, you know, to be head of an institution like LRRRC. It takes a different kind of skill. But then again, tomorrow there'll be another scandal, and by Monday we wake up to a new scandal.
Jimmy,
and then we forget about this one.
Jimmy, what's the big picture here? Yeah, and Dr. Douglas brought a good point. I mean, the people the president is appointing in these positions, right? And what is he doing when things happen? Is he just sitting there? I mean, they were on camp, Buruburu came and interview. I mean, it was so horrific. And they said, I tried to reach out to the foreign minister and everybody else. They were sleeping outside in the school. You have a little school classroom and you have 10,000 people in it. The president said nothing. Now he's saying, what's going on here?
Yeah, one reflection of a country is how they take care of its citizens, and it's a missed opportunity that we had Liberians destitute, being driven out of a foreign country, and we didn't even have a sympathetic word in their favor. Well, to add insult to injury, when they came here, there was several stories of how they were treated when they were here. They were destitute. They went to an open field. They had no lodging or anything. Now we hear the little amount that has been appropriated for them to restore them, to get them back on their feet. We hear a bunch of ghost names have been replaced with their names, and somebody is pocketing the money. What has to happen? Because we have a tendency, no matter where we find our leaders and directors, that is where they find a way to get money from, to siphon money from. And even if it's pregnant women, school children, or destitute Liberians, they don't have no conscience about this. This is an opportunity for the executive to take example on the leaders there, so that we will begin to see a turn in the culture that's existing today. And until that happens, until we see a visible retribution for these sort of acts, it will get worse.
Thank you. Dr. Golafale, they say the whistleblower now says Jackson has called for investigation into Geraldine Collier, who allegedly works at the LRRRC and uses her catering service to provide food for returnees at the rehabilitation center. A situation Jackson believes represents a conflict of interest. Some of the leaked checks show Collier cashing check of over Liberian $4 million and US $30,000. Talking about conflict of interest, insider trading, whatever. Dr. Golafale, again, most of your colleagues are saying this is shameful, this is disgraceful. But the whole corruption thing, I mean, the story is everywhere.
Yeah, it's unfortunate we don't have systems in place to track people's activities in government, and all of these things contribute to, stories of corruption, rumors, and investigation that 9 out of 10, nothing's gonna come out of it, and that's the unfortunate part, And because when they come up, I'm very sure they're gonna investigate and tell you nobody's guilty, because the thing in Liberia is that people in government always try to paint the government good, and then people out, they see what's happening, they want to talk about it. When they talk about it, they're labeled, and they have this new thing in Liberia of people just standing for anyone, regardless of whether they did wrong or right. Oh, I stand with this man, So this is just a societal ill, and I don't know when we're gonna get out of this. If I won't be disappointed when I hear about corruption in Liberia, because it's something that Joe Barker knows, and as I said previously, he bears the responsibility because we believe he's knowledgeable, he understands the systems well, and that's why people trusted him and gave him, their votes. And we haven't gone a year. The same old things we've been talking about, we'll talk about in the CDC. I'm not here to back anyone, regardless of what party and you and I support. People have to be held accountable. Joe Barker will be held accountable. And we're not going to wait for the end of his term to hold him accountable. He's going to be held accountable because he trusted these people and gave them responsibilities to carry on. And if they go against the law, they did things against the laws and policies and of professional conduct, they have to be held accountable. And if not held accountable, and there's all evidence, I tell you, nothing's going to come out of it. Joe Barker is going to be held responsible. There are a lot of things that just get swept under the carpet because people want to just protect the government or protect certain big people. It's a societal thing. It's unfortunate, and I wouldn't back the government for that. We look forward to the investigation to see what comes out of it. If they investigate without any interest to protect people who may be involved in this, well, thank God. If they don't, which I 90% to 100% believe that nothing's going to come out of it. Absolutely nothing. That's the unfortunate part. Gogo, take it out.
Thank you.
So take it out.
Thank you. So let's look at the future. Mr. Gulafala is saying 9 out of 10, nothing will come out of it. Thomas, let me go to you. We look at the present to tell the future. We still don't know where the asset recovery thing is going. The war crimes court, they were going to reconstitute a committee. They were going to put a committee together that was going to get a new head, right? The time has passed for that. We still didn't get anything. The University of Liberia president, they were being still nothing. LRRRC, or not LRRRC, LDEA has, since they were fired. The CBL, there were people who took money, they didn't pay. Some of them got it. We have acting all over the place. That have now been confirmed. Now corruption, there were corruption few places. They will be investigating. Is President Bouaka really slow to act on these things? What or is it still too soon? Is he not able to tackle maybe 2 or 3 things at the same time? Or am I rushing the paper?
I think he has a lot of advisors, so he should be able to handle these things.
A lot of things are undone, right? You see that too?
Yeah, I mean, when you are the president, you are head of the entire government. So it's not the case that when something happens, you say, okay, let this one wait, let me solve this one. You have to solve all of them simultaneously.
Even the military women, is it even solved, really? The women that come out, they can die, they can grow old, the widows.
I think Josiah needs to do some work on those army women to see those that need to retire so they can retire them. Maybe when he finishes the CSA work. But I mean, coming to the question you asked, I think the president with all of his advisors and his entire team that he has, because like Ahmed always says, that I mean, it's not the president, it's the presidency. I think it's the entire team that really needs to make sure that these things that come up that need swift action to be
I
dealt
may
with.
also talk about the symphony, right? He's the conductor.
Yeah. So they need to make sure that these things are dealt with, because I was making a point earlier that this transition year was a preparation for 2025. 2025 is really this year that you expect a big push, things to happen massively. And even when the finance minister was instituted the other day, oh, I know the Ministry of Public Work has plans to be able to do some big road work. So that means there'll be a lot of money next year. And the little ones that are around to LRRRC and other places, if you allow people to put their hand in the cookie jar and just take it out and do anything they want to do with it, it means the bigger one that you will bring in 2025, with all of the budget support you will get from World Bank, EU, and other places, they will also squander it. So I think dealing with these issues now and resolving them and making sure that you penalize people who need to be punished is to send a signal that moving forward, everyone should take their job seriously. So it's almost like you ask people to go and act, they actually act. Because it's almost just like a movie, right? This scene comes on today, it plays, and then it fades away, and then the other scene comes, it fades away. So it's almost like everyone is acting. Until the director of the movie can really go and put things in order, everyone will just be acting. So I think the presidency really needs to make sure that things are in place and they are actually moving on.
You know,
Mr. Salim, the symphony orchestra. Okay, Dr. Douglas, go ahead before we hear about the symphony orchestra. I don't think the
the symphony,
conductor is
okay,
doing
yeah,
so well.
my definition of the president is the presidency is an institution. It's not a person. But then you have to have a leader into that institution. But I think, when you talk about corruption, sometimes the lack of political culture. I mean, Jimmy probably remember, maybe you were too young anyway, while you were in all this. But when you think about Two-Week Party, they had young cadres from high school. They start picking you up. They train you, they teach you think value. By the time you get into a position in a party, you have a clear idea of the values of that political party, the cultural value. You know leadership, you know where you stand, you know what you have to do. But now partisanship is like cheerleadership. That's what we do. So we got all these guys around the politicians. They're all like cheerleaders. And the day you win, you have to put them in jobs, and you don't know if they're capable or not. You don't know if they'll be honest or not. I mean, LRRRC, we just wait and see. But as the professor said, 99% of the time, nothing happens. Because we have LDA issue, we have the police issue, we have LRA issue, we have LRRRC, we have the House, we have the Rights Committee, we have the SOE's, salary issue. These are all investigations going on at the same time. But each of them could have been resolved in one day.
But what's happening, Dr. Douglas? Why?
Because there's a lack of focus on day-to-day running the government. People have these long projects.
Is President Bwaka up to the task then?
No, it's not Bwaka not being at the task. It's just like somebody would say advisors. And I said, the only person who's supposed to be novice in their job is the president. Everybody else is supposed to be a specialist. Your job is, Mr. President, you set up this committee, I'm going to follow up. Mr. President, the committee has done its work. We have to make a decision today. And you drop a letter and give it to the president. That's how it's done.
But the LDA report is on his desk. The University of Liberia president report is on his desk. He just came up.
Yeah, but somebody got to tell him
somebody
has to tell him to read it. You give him the thing, and then you propose solutions, and then you say, Mr. President, this is the best solution, and you draft a letter and you put a letter on top of it. And the president will say, I don't like your letter, and then send it back to you with corrections, and then you get out. That's how you do it.
Let me add something quick. There was a strange development today that he has canceled all the appointments of all the ambassadors at large.
Yeah.
That is an unprecedented call, I thought. So you see, he took a definitive action on something like that. And that has to happen when these things occur. He has to require whoever is in charge, his deputy.
Jimmy, that thing you're talking about was in the making when I was in Monrovia in March.
In March.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's when he was
So
talking
we
about
can
the
see
Republic.
that there definitely is a
You
delay.
just spoiled Jimmy happiness and celebration.
No, what I was saying is there's no action being taken to address these issues. It's going to swell. It's going to swell. It's going to simmer. It's going to fester, and then it will be overwhelmed to do anything about it. And this is why I keep emphasizing he has to take action now before it gets worse. That's what's so important.
Mr. Salif, the symphony orchestra that you told us about,
Yeah.
how is the conductor doing?
Well, look, this conductor just got an assignment, right? I talk about the symphony orchestra as an analogy to describe the presidency. The presidency is the institution. You have these advisors to the president, these councils and aides to the president, people around the president, that sort of bubble, that ecosystem. These are the people who are drafting memos. These are the people who, like Dr. Dukru said, bringing to the president's attention. Well, remember LTA, this is where it is now. These are the people who are out there pushing these committees that have been set up to investigate, to get them to the job, to provide timely report. These reports are brought on the president's desk. Look, even when things are brought on the president's desk, these things have cues that they line up in, right? You got to get on the agenda, daily briefing. So you have sort of weekly briefing. You have monthly schedule, what will happen next. All of these things, you're looking at one conductor, right? Yes, I talked about a symphony orchestra. You have different instruments. You imagine these ministries, these agencies, these different offices, officials, ambassadors, all of them to be different musicians, all on this one, in this one musical group. So that at the end of the day, you produce a beautiful, harmonious sound of music to the enjoyment of the ears of the listeners and the audience.
So to point,
who's your
if somebody
audience?
is playing, he is singing in Q, not even F,
You're right.
and the conductor is just sitting there.
No, the conductor stands up there. You know, if you've been to, conductor stands up there, signaling the eyes, signaling hands, signaling movement. The conductor, whole body, whole mind, everything is moving.
We don't
And the
see
way-
the conductor signaling anything.
Well, and the way it moves, you look at the musicians themselves, they're constantly looking at and up to the conductor to signal and signal. They are assisting the conductor as much as the conductor is assisting them to produce this beautiful, harmonious music. Everybody produces different sounds, right? But the conductor makes sure the sounds align, because at the end of the day, they've promised the audience a particular musical note, a particular piece that they want to produce. That's how it works. And the presidency as an institution, that's how it's working. Now, you can question over the quality of musicians, the quality of the instruments that they have, their context, the acoustics, the all kinds of things that go into producing a beautiful, harmonious musical music at the end of the day, Dennis. So they don't turn around and say, wow, that conductor was a terrible conductor. Yes. And if they are terrible, you say that. If they are slow, you say that. And those who are savvy, sitting in the audience, they will know if the conductor has missed a note, if the conductor is slow, if it's too fast, and they can tell. But to the unsuspecting audience, who don't know anything about music, we're just watching them do their things and listening to the sound. You come to the presidency, similarly. All these appointments, all these individuals in different roles, are they qualified? Do they have the experience? Are people misplaced? Are people placed in their proper fields, in things like that? Those are the areas that we hold the president responsible, because people recommend people to the president to appoint them. he or she may not know in this case that doesn't know, these people may not know the person's specific qualification, but relies on advisor, relies on these political alliances to say, look, this Dennis Jah guy, we know him, this is his background, this is his expertise, he has experience in XYZ, he will produce, he will be efficient, he will deliver. And the president looks into it and appoints you. And if you don't do the job, this is where the power of the presidency comes in. President can say you're fired, you're suspended, right? And the final thing I'll conclude on is a culture of ethical governance where people offer their resignations, where people are asked to resign, where when things fail, even if the head of the entity hasn't done anything wrong at all, just because it's under their watch that this thing has failed or this scandal has occurred, this corruption has happened, they offer to step down. So it's up to the head of state, the president, to accept that resignation or not. But we don't have a culture of that. People, in fact, want investigation to happen to clear their name. They're not going to offer to resign. So it's a combination of all kinds of factors, Dennis.
Thank you. Dr. Gulafale, I want to stay with Mr. Salif Symphony Orchestra, right? Here is the conductor. So he's recruiting people to play, right? We saw the likes of Yumaling, who said openly that he was going to kill people. And people say, you can't do this. The president still appointed him. We saw the likes of the foreign minister, who your group investigated and found that she did not have a degree or it was questionable. Yet the president still. So, I mean, the GB he faced now, it's time to swallow it, right? How do we then excuse him? Is Mr. Salif making excuses for the president here? Dr. Gulafale.
He has the right to make excuses, and I was having a little difficult time with, you saw me coming on and back.
Can you give it more volume?
Are you hearing me?
Okay, a little louder. Good.
Yeah, I was going back and coming.
Oh,
out of the
probably
thing.
lost you again.
But what I have is that nobody should stand in the defense of anyone.
We can hear you, Dr. Gulafale.
Wait, Dr. Gulafale in Tambala or in Kibban or what?
And then you are part of the wrong.
Dr. Gulafale, we can hear you.
I don't think it's about defending the president.
No, it's having technical challenges there.
Yeah, Dr. Gulafale, you have technical issues there. We can hear you.
The culture of just anybody can do anything, and as you.
Dr. Gulafale is in flight. We're not hearing you, Dr. Gulafale.
They just want to clear their name. Investigation is just meant for people to clear their name. It's not to catch anybody for wrongdoing. And I don't think, President Boakai.
Dr. Gulafale, are you hearing me? We can hear you.
I said it from the onset.
All right, Jimmy, the same question, right?
You set a standard. You open room for other good or bad thing. If the standard is low, you're
Dr. Gulafale is still talking, but we can hear him. It's very, very low.
That's it.
Why don't you send me a text so you can start talking?
Foreign minister. That was
Yeah.
where I started to.
All right, Jimmy,
Confidence in the government. And
how is our symphony orchestra conductor doing?
Well, I'm just going to say it. It's the question everybody, you've been asking this question several times. When you see somebody, and half the time they are around sleeping, they're not focused. What do you expect? And I think the preponderance of information of task in the presidency is strenuous, even for a very energetic young person. So the only thing that the chief executive has to do, he can't let all the decisions leave with him. He's going to have to delegate certain decisions right away that he should take. Like, for instance, the Minister of Justice, if you have a problem at the DEA, give the Minister of Justice leeway to make a definitive decision. Okay, And that way you won't have to decide that. And that's where you know you cannot be appointing people on friendship basis. You have to be appointing them on their competence and ability to handle the job, the portfolio. All this thing that's going on with this refugee kid, the people at social services, they should be the one to address this immediately. He doesn't have to deal with it. But if he's not going to delegate this authorities, that he has to make every decision, as I say, the buck stops with him, it's gonna stack up. It's gonna be immense, and it's only gonna pile up, and we're gonna see more and more of this. You have to delegate these decisions, and you don't have to make every single decisions, and you have to ensure that you have capable and competent people. And even if you have to establish teams, instead of having just the justice minister do it, you could have the justice minister in combination with maybe the labor minister, or you decide which ways it will be. Let them come up with decisions so that you can govern and have less to do. But if all this thing is going to rest with the chief executive, he's going to have to be up almost 24/7 because there's so many things to do. I don't see any other way out.
This man still talking.
Thank you. That takes us to our last topic for the day, which is PhD, right?
Philosophy doctorates.
PhD, that's what being offered at the University of Liberia. I wanted Dr. Golafale to speak to this, who also worked at the University of Liberia, and up to now he's in contact. So the University of Liberia recently launched its first ever doctoral programs, marking significant milestone in the country's academic development. The program, officially inaugurated by President Joseph Juma Boakai, included a PhD degree in health sciences and education administration. And one person who was there to launch it is, they call him Dr. Tabo Nyenswa. According to the story, he's a research fellow at Johns Hopkins University. The university has been looking for a president. I have a friend who was also on Focus on Liberia who participated in the interview, and according to them, 3 names have been forwarded to the president. But it's been 2 months now, we still don't have a president. I don't know if you're a university student, you want your graduate degree to be signed by acting president. More to that, they are offering a PhD without even under this interim administration. And I know, Mr. Salif, we discussed this before, and you also, you and Dr. Dukley taught at the university. Is the university ready for a PhD at this time, like Mr. Salif?
You know, Dennis, look, the arguments I've seen on social media and the argument I've seen from the University of Liberia, you're right. I taught that in the graduate program for 6 years. And so I had an opportunity to assess undergraduate students who were coming in my program, also to assess other faculty colleagues who were co-teaching courses, and just to observe the administration, the department in which I taught, and generally my interaction with the university, aside from the physical plant of the university infrastructure. When you are launching a PhD program, there are a number of things that we should understand before we accept or criticize or not criticize. What is the demand for the specific discipline in which you are offering a PhD? What is the qualification of faculty? The quality of faculty, your faculty members, they're qualified. And in academic terms, qualification in this respect, you're looking at people, having done peer review research and publications. Have they done visitor professorship? Have they, do you have research capability as an individual faculty member? Does the university or department have research infrastructure, research capability, research funding? Because this is the advanced most level anyone can go It takes years, I mean, for people to labor in a PhD program to come out on the other side successfully, complete a dissertation and defend it for good reason. You all kinds of things. You're talking about supervision, people who supervise these students, these PhD students, and then and if they qualify, become a candidate, and do their research, supervise the research. Do you have a university infrastructure in such a way that you can sustain a PhD program? So I'm saying this to me, even if on the final point on the IRB, it's called Institutional Review Board, ethical conduct of research, ethical conduct of teaching, ethical conduct of student behavior, and so forth and so on. Do you have relationship with other universities, higher institutions of learning in the region and around the world? And by extension, have you been accredited regionally? Have you been accredited nationally? Or by departmentally, if it's department specific? So these are some of what I've been hearing on social media in different ways. People saying, oh, even you don't have a fully a developed undergraduate program, then you're talking about PhD. Oh, you don't have good master's program. Look at the physical plant of the university. These are the kinds of arguments I've heard. So my final point in this, and I will shut up and listen to others, is that I'm not against launching a PhD doctoral program at a university. This university is very old. Liberia is an old country, the oldest country in the continent, if not the oldest. And so this is way, way long past due. So we should be doing something more beyond PhD, or participating in all kinds of intellectual engagements and exchanges. So we're not there. We're not doing all of that. So yes, we should launch a PhD program, but we have to answer these questions, some of these questions.
And how do you answer those questions, Mr. Solis?
To be brutally honest with you, Dennis, some of the people who came in my courses at a graduate school, weren't qualified even to be an undergraduate student, a solid undergraduate student. For example, I give you, look, I'm not in the business of putting people down, putting my country down, institution. But for example, somebody will come, they don't even know the basic thing about writing, like writing methods. So, I had to establish a writing lab, the Kofi Annan Institute for Conflict Transformation. Downstairs, they have a kind of general hall there, where I invited colleagues from the embassy, from the UN community, other professionals to come and contribute, and just to teach people how to write. Every class I taught, people who know me knew that I will offer 30 minutes of my class, just basic writing. Like, how do you submit a paper to me? If I ask you to give me a reflection paper, I give you reading materials, articles and stuff to read, assign reading for next week. And you come back in the previous week, I want you to give it to reflect on what we've discussed and what we've worked on. People didn't know how to do that kind of thing. Not just the quality of writing, but just the thought of how to organize it. Somebody asked me, what is ABA? Like APA, this American Psychological Association that we all, social sciences use, MLA, people didn't know these basic writing styles.
Writing styles, yeah.
Exactly. They didn't know that. Okay. And then the writing itself, the mechanic of writing, somebody doesn't spell something that a 7th, 6th grader should be spelling and understand, have command over the grammar and things like that. So that's just like the student quality side. And that speaks to faculty quality. That speaks to university supervision, university quality, and resources, teaching materials, books, and environment. All of these things are what I'm hearing people say. We ought to have them in place in order to have to launch a successful doctoral program.
Let me come in quickly, Janet.
Dr. Golafale, are you there?
Yes, I'm here.
Okay, Dr. Golafale, I want you to give me your take on this university PhD program. At this moment, okay, I just want to get your take on it.
Yeah, I mean, it's a good thing to hear that the university is trying to start a doctoral program, but a lot of questions, because a PhD is considered traditionally the highest level of academic attainment, and it's a good news to hear. But the question that I would like to ask: in what areas are they about to provide PhD in, and how prepared is the faculty? Like, uh, was it Professor Connor was talking, right? Who was talking
Sally.
about that?
Sally. Okay.
So they have it in health sciences and education administration.
Okay, good. All right, then you come to ask what's the faculty strength, what's the research capabilities, because PhD has to do with, you know, originality in research. And for a country like Liberia, if you're offering a PhD program, you must have a plan, short-term and long-term plan on how that contributes to the overall country's development, agenda. Because it's not just about offering PhD for the sake of PhD. That people want to get PhD. Because I know there are a lot of stories about people just want to get PhD in Liberia for the sake of PhD. So that's why you have a lot of fraud, in the system. And those are things that first need to be taken care of, before, because we have a lot of fraud within our undergraduate programs. We're not taking care of it. There's a foundational problem. You're not taking care of it, but you come in to offer PhD. It's a nice thing, but several questions need to be asked about their readiness, the effectiveness, and how they're going to take care of the fundamental issues of undergraduate education. Have to be, really solid. Before people go to PhD or master's program, they must have the fundamentals of research. They know what originality in research means. They're not just going there to go plagiarize and write something up there. Because I see a lot, people leave from school, they go into government functions, they're still plagiarizing. They don't understand the ethics of writing. So there's a lot of things, foundational issues that wrong with our education system, and the PhD is kind of I raised a red flag when the first time I saw that. I said, well, I don't think we're ready yet. We're not there. We just jump in there. We just want to get there because we think we have people who are teaching graduate programs, or they are doctors, and how many PhDs do we have that we're going to offer PhD? You think by having a medical doctor degree, or it means you can coordinate a PhD program? You must have gone through PhD programs. You must have led research programs. You must have directed programs. You must have solid experience. You're not just coming from school and say you're coming to run PhD programs. PhD programs for people with high-level academic achievement in academia. It's not just anyone. So those are things we want to look at. Who's on the committee to review what the PhD program they're going to offer? Who are the faculty? We want to see the strength of the faculty. What have they achieved, both academically, and in public or private sector, wherever it is? What are their collaborative work? We want to see something very solid. We're not here for mediocrity. Academia has been taken to a low-level standard in Liberia, with a lot of fraud and a lot of things. And the University of Liberia have to be careful, because you're trying to put PhD out there, you are impacting students, whether negatively or positively. Think about it. You're going to put PhD out there. Who's going to recognize them? What are they going to do? Research-wise, do we have the capability? Those are things. So there's more questions. This conversation can go as long as we are. If I see what the PhD program is, I want to see the faculty. I want to see everything that a PhD program needs. It's not just, we're going to get there. You just have to know. You can't play with education like that. It's not a joke play. It's not we're trying now. We just, we're not there yet. We're going to get. If you're not there, don't start it. Don't deceive people. You have a lot of fraud in the system. With a lot of people in that system, they don't have good PhDs. They come from some bogus universities around. We know them. We flag them. But the university administration sits on it because they have interest in these people. Some of them were teaching at doctoral program, at graduate programs. We pressurize them to get them out.
There are some that are still in the system. We know that their PhDs are questionable. They didn't get good PhD. And then you're going to offer PhD. You have to first refine the system, audit the whole system. We have look at recently, somebody from government went to graduate fraudulently. The system is a mess. You can't bring a good program like PhD into a messy system. It cannot survive. You're just creating more chaos. You're creating more unprepared people, people who cannot compete outside of Liberia. They just sit right in there. That's where they will survive. They can't go out and survive. Let them go and present papers at conferences from original research. Many of them cannot do it. Just few people we know. But again, it's Liberia. Anything goes. Anything goes. We'll continue.
Thank you, Dr. Gulafale.
Liberia is unprepared. This is my conclusion. They are unprepared to offer a PhD program. If they want to do it, let them go ahead. But they are unprepared.
But if they are unprepared, Dr. Gulafale, what is driving this?
Well, all of these things, I wouldn't want to, except we talk to the people. Why you didn't bring one of the university people on the air? Let them talk. Let us ask them questions. So I brought these people on so we can engage them. I did my PhD. I went to a PhD. I know what it means to go through a PhD program. I give my own remote advice to students that are doing PhDs. You know, be Liberian students or the foreign students. I know what it means to do PhD. How much originality in our research? Just go to the master's program. How many people in master's program do original research, that high profile research? Where do they go with? We don't have strong master's program. We don't have strong undergraduate program. The whole secondary education program is a mess. We have fundamental issues to resolve before all of these programs can get support. Otherwise, it's a joke. These people are money making spree. They just want to make money out of it because some kind of funding from private somewhere, I'm assuming. I don't have any evidence, but in the long run, you're going to see it. Again, the University of Liberia is not prepared to offer a doctoral program, a PhD program. Dr. Gulafale, say it. Quote me.
Thank you. Thank you. Jimmy, you wanted to say something?
Yeah.
If you have the likes of Kofa. Dog Cooper didn't go to school at all, but he went to graduate. How did
you know, there's some specific things that a university must have, just what like the doctor was saying. First of all, the university must have a faculty with sufficient expertise in the field to provide rigorous instruction and mentorship to students. So just what the doctor said, show me your faculty that you have to do this. One doctor, those who are PhD holder, can we verify that PhD, or what kind of PhDs do they have? Then the curriculum must be comprehensive. That covers the core concepts and advanced topics in the field. Then you have to have the facilities, research facilities, that these people can do their original research. But John, let me just tell you, I've seen this thing happen in Liberia several times, and I only could observe because I was blocked. But they said they wanted to launch 5G in Liberia. I said, you don't have the facilities to launch 5G. You have to first anchor. Most 5G are anchored to a 4G network. You can't do it. Well, pushed out. It was a catastrophe. It just flopped. Even the president went there to launch it. I saw them do it with the digitalization of the Liberian government. They wanted to put everything online. They pushed us out, and it started. And we were going to provide them the basic things that they need to structure such a program, to know how to integrate that database onto an online platform. They pushed us out. What happened? It flopped. So here we are now with a PhD program, and we all know that our university is ill-prepared. Students don't have seats. They don't have chairs. How can you offer such an elite program? It's called a terminal degree. How can you offer a terminal degree when you haven't done the basics yet to do it? So what is it going to be? Another farce, another failure. And I don't know what is motivating it, because it's not like that's what we need. And the doctor talked about something else. You're supposed to tailor your educational program to facilitate the needs of the country. Where do we need people right now? We need artisans. We need painters. Those are the things we need. Where are we going to PhDs? To do what? I don't understand why we run behind things instead of getting the basics down first. But I think it's largely because some people feel it, as long as they got the paper and not the knowledge, that's all that matters. And we gotta discredit this, because many of us graduated from the UL when the UL was a reputable program. In fact, that's another requirement. They have to be recognized.
That was LU. That was LU, not UL.
That was it.
LU. You're talking about LU, not UL. Okay,
There's
a different, huh?
That was a long time ago. We could compete anywhere in the world. That's how it was. We had Fulbright professors on campus with us. Now, today the teachers they can't even speak correctly, and they're teaching a young undergrad coming up. It's something else that I can't fathom.
It is.
Tom, you are there. Will you go to LU for a PhD?
So before I go to the PhD, I want to say today that the person whose ID number that the inspector used to graduate from the undergraduate program was actually the chairman, I think, of Unity Party in Nimba. So it's like when he died, he said, and Dor was the co-chair. So it's like when the chairman passed away, he said, but I already co-chair, so I'll just continue from where he stopped. And then I'll get my degree. But this is something very important. To me, I think, the civil war we fought in this country is going to affect us for generations to come. Generations to come. Everything that we are doing since the civil war ended is just catch up. We're trying to catch up. We're just trying to catch up. We just patch things. Look at Dr. Gulafale spoke about the infrastructure. Where do you have on capital bypass that you can sit down with all the kekes and motorbikes passing that you will you will focus and do research? I've been trying to develop a research proposal for the tax training that I did. This country is so noisy that you can't even focus to do anything. It's either something is happening in the government, or some people are fighting on the road, or some people are pointing the police car. Everything is just crazy. And this is what we have to deal with after the Civil War. So all these PhDs are just coming to add to it. I mean, I listened to Dr. Bernice Dunn, I think, when she was on the OKFM. So I just wanted to provide some of what she said when they appeared there, that this is something they've been working on. This launch was actually postponed. The launch of this PhD program was scheduled earlier, but I think it was scheduled at the time some of these students were demonstrating against one of their professors. So there was chaos on campus. They couldn't do it, and therefore they postponed it. But this is something they've been working on. I mean, like Ahmed was saying, some of the things I'm seeing on social media, people are saying, oh, you don't have a master's program, then you are going to PhD. What I do know is that these PhDs are building on master degrees that the university has been offering. Because I do know that they've been offering masters in education administration for a couple of years now. And they quite recently started masters in some of the health sciences areas. They have their masters in public health. I think they've put up 2 or 3 a group of students. So I think these two are actually building on those master degrees that they have done. And I'm very sure that they have some support from donor agencies based on what Dr. Dan said, that they developed a strategic plan, they did a curriculum, I think they socialize it with some universities in the region and all of that. So like he was saying, I think it would be good for us or for FOL to actually invite these people who are in charge of this whole PhD program issue so that they can come and discuss it. So that as we are, for those who are dismissing it, if you are dismissing it, you should dismiss it with a full idea of what they are thinking. But if the question is, we really do need PhDs in this country, we do need a lot of PhDs because we need people who can really think and solve problems. That's what we are lacking. So if we are going to develop a PhD program, it should be a PhD program that will stand to that scrutiny so that we can really produce people who can solve problems in this country. Because a lot of people we have in positions are just people who will go and just make noise. They don't really research, they don't solve problems. So I had gone to visit one of my colleagues at one of the ministries. And so this lady comes and she's opening all of the cabinets in the office and just looking for a piece of paper. So I asked her, what are you looking for? And who are you? And she says, I'm the research officer in my department. So in our government, when they say research, it's like going to look for old folders or old documents that maybe someone has signed on 5, 10 years ago. That's actually research. It's not taking your computer and doing literature review, developing a question and be able to answer that question. It's just to go and look for old documents. So we really need to train more people who are analytical, who are able to do research, who are able to use evidence to be able to solve problems. So for me, I think it would be good for us to invite that team so that they can come and actually share with us what they've done to be able to get to this level. I do know that Cottington, I think, also has a PhD program, but for theirs, I think it's in divinity. I know there are people who got PhDs in divinity, but I don't think that is more resource intensive as compared to a PhD in health sciences. Maybe they might fall on the resources they have at Dougherty and maybe some of the clinical research that other projects are doing. But as a government, we need to be able to resource this so that those that come out, it shouldn't be they come out from there and then they write papers without the proper citation. So I think we need to invite them so that we can really hear from them how they got to this level.
Thank you. Dr. Dukley, you also taught at LU.
Yeah, I thought
It's been a while. Things have changed now.
No, it's been a while, but actually my students are teaching it now. My former students are teaching at LU. And I visit them. They asked me to, I said, no, I don't. LU, University of Liberia now is not a university really. I mean, there might be good people in there trying to do the best they can. To start a PhD program, we are talking about environment, the academic environment, the infrastructure, not just physical, but also the infrastructure. Do you have a library? Can you create a virtual library with, computer science? We don't need books anymore, but you can create a big computer lab. Do you have electricity 24 hours a day so people can teach? Because 60% of your students work, so that at night some of them, all kind of things. Education from grade 1. We don't pay attention to it. People don't care. Government does not care. What's the budget of LU? When you think about it, what's the budget of the university? People who, I remember when we first came back, when I joined the government, with Amos, I first worked with Patrick Sayon, Dr. Sayon. I remember the first day we went to clean the campus, we pick up dead, body parts in a library. But the idea at the time was to open the university so that people who are fighting, because a lot of young students have left to go fight, we say, okay, let's open the university and then we can attract them. And it worked because we sent leaflets to Banga and people came, hundreds of students. So you coming from the war zone, you want to be at LU, you got high school, I was in high school. We took everybody and it was bad. But the idea was to get to disarmament. A lot of students left it fighting to come to join the university. But we never sat down to say, how do we recreate the new University of Liberia after the war? What kind of faculty do you need? What kind of environment do you need to create? But nothing happened. And there's no money. People don't get paid. This campus physically dilapidated. It's just a shame. PhD program looks good. I know how I got my PhD. Well, I'll leave to those people who just talk about it. I mean, I think they cover every aspect of it, every aspect of the issue. Yeah, so I'm not going to go through into it.
And those people you have put through that they didn't want to come and teach in the PhD program.
And Tom, you didn't answer the question. If you are intentionally,
No, I don't want to do PhD in the areas that they are offering it in, so I will not go there.
oh, you will wait. Yeah. So
You got people who have bachelor degree and they call them professor.
yeah.
Yeah,
Ladies
they
and
have
gentlemen,
on
this is
campus.
Stop Talking Thursday. If you want to
Yeah,
join the conversation, please call 605-313-6004. The code is 791-403#. Dr. Golafale, the university is still looking for a president, right? This process started like 2-3 months ago, and they still haven't gotten one. And President Boakai, knowing that this university under interim leadership was, went there to launch a PhD program. Is he aware, that he has not appointed the president yet, or it doesn't matter?
Well, with all due respect, there's a president, the interim president, but appointment of the president of the university isn't like any other ordinary job. It's an academic institution that requires rigorous vetting, and the right person needs to be chosen and to lead the university to a higher height. So I don't think that warrants any debate. It's the president's function. He went there to execute his function as the president, launching a PhD program, which I'm sure he must have been briefed about. Yeah, and he knows. But I don't think it conflicts with anything about the new president being, selected or not. But I think that has been, also delayed for reasons I don't know. We're waiting to see who the president is. I hope that it's someone who shares values that Joe Boakai shares and all Liberians, good Liberians share. Yeah, and it's not someone from behind some kind of corner that has, some tinted record. We're on the standby to critique whoever becomes the president of the University of Liberia, because it is our interest. And I've been one of the vocal persons, and we've heard hints, we've heard gossips about who the person is going to be, and we've provided our own, thoughts about it. But we're looking at them. Sometimes they throw names out there and try to get public reaction, And for me, I don't rest. As soon as I see the name or I hear it, I will react. We don't want to wait until the mistake is made.
Some of the names.
I hold that for now until they nominate. When they nominate, then we will surely talk about it. But for now,
Thank you, Dr.
Yeah.
Thank you. Let me bring in Kalebo Gonglo. He's on the line. Mr. Gonglo, what's your take on the topics being discussed tonight?
Dennis, I don't know. I'm listening to different platforms here. I see Jimmy is still talking.
You behind.
Excuse me. Hello?
Hello?
Yeah, am I online? Am I on air?
Yeah, you are on air. Go ahead, sir.
Okay, so I just wanted to make my comment. I listened to the show from the start to this point so far. First, you guys deal with the corruption issue. I just want to make a quick point on this. Here is a laundry list of President Boakai in action. I'm just going to list it quickly. LTU, Kamara stands accused of millions of dollars. There's much talk about that. President Boakai is not interested in that. The Ministry of Commerce, the IG, went to the University of Liberia. That's what Dr. Golafale was just talking about. And bribed people allegedly with $10,000 to obtain a degree and participated in a graduation ceremony. You obtain clearances, academicals, and march and took photos and had graduation parties. The only thing you didn't get was the degree. Because somebody discovered it, just before the program, after he has received everything. Okay? LRRRC, you guys talk about that. NASCO, just before Boga could take power. The cars that they purchased, nobody knows where the cars are. Ministry of Public Works, 22 million contracts issued out. The minister went to the Senate and apologized for for lack of transparency in the awarding of the contract. LDA, all kinds of things happening there involving money as well, border and accountability, Boga in action. LPRC enter into loan agreement, I think worth $6 million. Thomas Kane is here. You can talk about that. That's a violation of the PSN law. And so many things. But let's history sounds right here. Under President Bouaka and Ellen, after 12 years, they declare corruption vampire, meaning that it's beyond human reach. So let's remember our history. We were expecting to fight corruption when they have declared corruption vampire after 12 years. They say human beings can catch it. So we have to look back into history to see we're just wasting our time talking here. And the other thing I want to just comment on before I leave is I heard Dr. Gologali say Liberia has no system. I reject that notion that Liberia has no system. Someone's coming on the show with support me on this. We have got a lot of laws, even in public service, there are a lot of systems. Okay? What is lacking in Liberia is the courage by our leaders to enforce the law. That is what is lacking. It's not a lack of system. There's so much in place to catch even corruption right in its tracks. But we don't enforce it. We don't implement it. Okay? And on the degree, the PhD issue, please, if you allow me to go 1 second, 10 seconds. That PhD issue is a reflection of the historical problem with Liberia. Liberia does not invest in education, and there is a reason for that. Because they want an illiterate society so they can continue to lead it. That PhD program in health really is driven by the fact that USAID, I think University of Massachusetts, is linked with the College of Health Sciences. They have a couple of, I think, $5 million or so linked to that program. So the phasing out of that program is to accumulate into what a PhD program. So it's a donor-driven thing. It's not originally an authentic desire by Liberian government or the University of Liberia to have it. They rely on donor funds. So the donor USAID fund, they want to say, hey, mission accomplished. We started with undergraduate degree, we got a master here, now we got PhD. Case closed. Then what happened next? So you got visiting professors who come from, I think, UMass and other universities in Boston and go there and teach and go back. This is a fiasco. Nothing else. It should be rejected.
Thank you. Flomo Livingston, you have a minute so we can close. We are out of time. Go ahead, Flomo.
Yeah, I hold my peace. I'll call next time.
Thank you. Thank you. Gentlemen, there you have it. Before, let me open 2 minutes for Tabata of the week. Dr. Dugle, you love this section.
Why does Calabo Congo come on the show no more? Because
Mr. Gonglo said that's the Tabata. If you don't say, in other words, saying you don't come on the show and you call to talk Tabata. That's what he's been mean. Dr. Dugle, what's your Tabata of the week?
PhD, LU.
Jimmy.
Oh man, I don't know which to pick, but I just think this speaker thing is my Tabata. I mean, where are we going? You once you are chairing all the things that are going on and you say nothing about it, and now today you exposing it because your position is being threatened. That's my own Tabata of the week.
Tom.
I said there's a lot of disturbance in Liberia, so it made me to forget my Tabata. Yeah. But again, I mean, not Tabata, but I mean, did not raise people expectation that when the president come back from the UNGA, right? There were things that were going to happen. You are either included or you will not be included. But nothing has really happened since the president came back. So maybe things are in the pipeline, just like every development in Liberia.
Mr. Salif, your Tabata.
Kalabo Gonglo.
Oh yeah. You said your Tabata already. And my Tabata is Yeke Koluwa say who supports Speaker Kofa say if Speaker Kofa resign, he will kill Speaker Kofa. Gentlemen, thank you. I want to thank our viewers. Let's conclude a minute each. Your final comments. Jimmy, let's start with you.
Yeah. You know, we have a long way to go. And that's not the problem. The problem is that we're not getting on the road. We are not doing the fundamental things that we need to do. And Tom, just like you said, yeah, we need PhDs, but so do we need skyscrapers. Why don't we fix the sewer system first? Why don't we fix the roads first? Why don't we get running water running throughout the city to all the homes? There are some fundamental things that we need to address. And I don't see that happening. It's not the challenge I see is not the amount of stuff we have to do, but the fact that we can't get it started. We can't build the foundation so the generations after us can continue. That's the only frustration I'm feeling here.
Thank you. Thomas.
I want to conclude with a book that I posted on Facebook today. This book was written in 2012, right? I think Ahmed. Why Nations Fail. Yeah. And the fundamental thesis in that book is about institutions. And you know, when we say institutions in development, it's not the buildings, like when you hear PPCC, people think PPCC is the building. PPCC is not that building. PPCC is the law and the regulations. So the institutions are the rules that we put in place to be able to govern us. If those institutions are not inclusive, themselves are exclusive, that is like they extract, then it becomes difficult for you to grow as a country. And then all of our institutions that we have built, even after the Civil War was a disruptive event that happened that gave us this opportunity to be able to change course. But like I keep saying, right after the Civil War, the heavy lifting that needed to be done, the reforms that we needed to do, many of it was postponed to Madam Seli's second term. So we missed out on those opportunities to be able to really deal with corruption, deal with incompetence in government and all of that, reform the public sector. We didn't do it. And so everything that is happening today is reinforcing, and that's one thing that is said in that book, that even our economic institutions, our political decisions play a role in how our economic institutions are built and are run. So this issue of corruption is an issue that we are dealing with. We haven't stood up to it to really be able to reduce it, because the systems, the institutions that we have are reinforcing themselves. That has to do with what is happening at LRRRC, what is happening in the House of Representatives, and then on the issue of the University of Liberia, I think Mr. Gongolo provided some information. I didn't want to vouch out the name of the donors and all of that. He said it, but I think we need to invite them to come and really see how it will be sustained moving forward. As I close today, I just want to send this street out. I normally don't do it, but somebody who normally follow me on the show, PHL Delphine. Every time I come on the show, when I do well, she will tell me. If I don't do well, she will tell me. So I've been absent for a while. Now that I'm here today, I just want to send this treat out to her and everyone that comes to listen every Thursday. Thank you very much for the show today.
What's up?
Patrick Kennedy said, my Tabata is room 1026. I can't wait to see Rope or Bush. Sam Wallow, my Tabata is of the week is people wanting the Speaker saga to go away with bygones be bygones. absolutely none. Dr. Dukle, your closing, sir.
Well, thank you guys, and thank you, Thomas, for being here without interruption and all of that. That was good, and we hope to have you every week. I think the more I think about all these things, it's education. If we don't improve the educational system, we don't invest in it. Make sure that people go to school, make sure they learn, make sure they develop critical thinking. All of these things are going to continue ever, forever. It's not just the school. Political parties have to educate people. You recruit young people from high school. You educate them. This is are the core values of our party. You want to join us, and they grow up with something in their mind, nation building. But if we don't invest in education, we don't invest in health. You put LU. Look at LU. You could put a big generator that provide current because 60 to 70% of your students work, so they prefer night classes. You put a classroom, one lab, virtual library with 100 computers, make sure they maintain properly, people come in and do their work, their research. You create a new culture, but not just by parading yourself and go stand, Mr. President, we're going to do it at the university, we're going to do it in a PhD, and we'll give you the first PhD. It's all grandstanding, mediocrity, and another, the gravy train. Somebody jump on a gravy train again. It's bad. It's bad. We don't invest
Mr.
in
Salih,
education. Yes.
Dr. Gulafale, are you ready?
Yeah.
Your closing, sir. Before we lose you again.
Yeah, the network I've been on this show as though I were in one remote village.
Yeah.
But anyway,
you're not in Dambala?
I wish I were in Damala.
That's why I said earlier.
But you're in a village, you're in Morovia, unless you're in Miami.
No,
Okay.
unfortunately, I'm right in Maryland here. But yeah, thanks for the show and thanks to everyone for the brilliant views. Whether for or against, corruption in Liberia, you're entitled to your views. But we stand to miss another opportunity that we missed. We wasted over a decade nurturing corruption, nursing it, giving it pat on the back, giving it baby bath, powdering it, milking it. We wasted those years from 2006 to 20 what? When Joe Barker took over.
2023?
2023. Well, he gone for more than a year now?
No, he's it's coming to a year. It's 10 months now.
Okay, yeah. So we've been, giving corruption, flashy seats, everything. We still continue to do that. It's sad that we wasted those years and we continue to waste them. And it's all because we have a society that is deeply entrenched into the wrong things. Everything has been normalized as wrong. Wrong things have been normalized. Like a couple of days ago, I saw a minister had a post on Facebook talking about their student politics days. And, the things they did as student politicians, they were involved in rigging election, doing all kinds of things. And, people just laugh about it. And that's simply, to me, when I read it, I read the reactions from people. I said, yeah, why it is true that there's some, level of humor in this, people will laugh and joke about it, but it just simplifies how, it just shows how we've normalized wrong things and we just brush it aside and, oh, my man, I Liberia there, my man. We did those things before, but they were good. They were good those days. We still look at it as good. That's what makes us who we are. No, it doesn't, sit well. A minister in government was saying that, yes, student politics, people did a lot of things, but I didn't expect that, they saw it like something normal because at universities, I think the universities are meant to train people to for the society, to help the larger society, not to indoctrinate in their wrongdoings. That's exactly what the minister was showing out on Facebook when he made that post. And I had a serious reservation about it. And those are the things, those small things. I define corruption as, it's a collection of all of the bad attitudes people gather from their communities, from their home, from their work, everywhere they put it together. When they're given that responsibility at the national level now, all of those things come together and push them to doing the wrong. And because we have a society like that, where corruption is nurtured from the bed to the higher office, it's going to be a difficult task. No president will come and easily get it. But in my closing statement, I want to say that President Boakai, it is right before you. It is before you, right in your eyes that these things are happening. You are not new to the system. You've been in it for over 40 years. You know. That is why I, along with many Liberians, trusted you. You need to step your feet down as a leader. Anything that happens in Liberia about corruption, we do not want to say, oh, corruption been here for long. It's not your responsibility. It is your responsibility as a leader. It is your responsibility to take action. If you don't take action, then you are not ready to lead. You either lead or you leave. That's it. We're not here to nurture anything. We're not ready for mediocrity anymore. When I trust somebody, I put you in power, I support you, I expect that you have to support the cause, the values that we all hold on to. I don't expect that I'm going to be cheering you for wrongdoing. Oh, I stand with Boakai, or I stand with this minister. I'm not that kind of person. People know me for that. I want a lot of people not friendly with me. Yeah, it's hard to deal with. But to close again, finally, the issue of the University of Liberia. President Boakai needs to step his feet down hard. That university is crumbling. Every facet of that university is rotting. The dream Dr. Dennis had for that university has died. To build a university up, to build its faculty. He was discouraged when he took over that he had bachelor's degree, people teaching bachelor's degree. He had to update, bring people, send people out. And I'm proud to say I was one of those who was sent out to get my PhD. Do I want to return? Yes, but not to a broken system. A system that does not want to see good people to make a system good. I want to return. But we have to be serious about the University of Liberia. There are people at the University of Liberia who just milk the system. They're making money. They're getting rich. Nobody knows. They don't pay part-timers well. Those are the people who hold the universities together, the adjuncts. They don't pay them on time. Students are living and learning in deplorable conditions. But you got people that focus on running PhD program where they have a lot of fraudulent PhDs in the systems. People have to be serious in this place. If they're not serious, we'll put them to work. We're here to talk about it. We'll not sleep.
Thank you.
And all the panelists, thank you very much and have a good night.
Thank you. Mr. Salif, exactly 8 into your time, so.
yeah, it's all right. I'll be quick. Well, the PhD thing, like I said, it's way long overdue. We are an old country that's way behind trying to catch up on things. We're all asking for quality. Maybe we start small and have a mentor university where we can house our PhD program under that program somewhat until we can be ready to move forward. That would be an approach that I will embrace. But just my experience there, just leaving it solely to the university, the faculty that's there, I think I will leave a lot, leaves a lot to desire. So we all want the best. And then there are students in the system, in my experience, who apply themselves went through the same broken system, came out well, smart, brilliant, because they look for additional resources, additional mentors, and things like that. Otherwise, majority of the students are struggling. The system has failed them. So we want the best for Liberia, but we want the best that can represent us anywhere in the world. And to do that, we have to really have a system in place, the right faculty, the right resources to launch a program that will be sustainable and successful. I'll leave it at that.
Thank you so much, gentlemen. And also thank our viewers for watching. At this time, we're going to draw down the curtains with our song that says, "We are all Liberians." Have a good night and God bless you.
Good night, Thomas.
We are Liberians. Liberia is our